This is Camp Breakdown, Worcester, day 5, November 5th, day 35. So I'm still able to sleep out here in the woods without freezing to death, which is nice. The tent keeps me nice and warm at night. I've taken to drinking the orange juice, which seems to help me in various ways. It keeps my throat soothed because I've been smoking. It's helped a lot with that. It's helped with my lungs. It's got a lot of sugar in it. One thing I've noticed is you always want to have calories in your body because you're always burning. That's one thing I learned on the fishing boat is we work like 20-hour days sometimes, and you just got to keep eating and eating and eating to stay energized. It's really not cold yet, so my body isn't working overtime, but eventually it will be. I hate the shelters. I went to the shelter last night, and it was like an Alcatraz. They shake you down when you go in. It's humiliating. Fuck that. So as long as I can stay outside, I will. But I am going to have to go into the shelters. I am going to have to experience that more. And I'm sure people will eventually be dicks to me, and I probably will argue, and I will film it. So you get to see that. But that's that. You know, like the creation of this project was dealing with a lot of people that are unqualified to work with other human beings that struggle with certain issues. So as far as those people go, they will get the brunt of my scrutiny when it comes to situations where they become combative with me, because I'm pretty straightforward and laid back. I don't really bother people. And then that's the problem with social structure, is when people feel like they have the power or control, they won't hesitate to abuse another person. And then that just causes trauma, and it just propels the cycle. So I'll just do this little camp breakdown here. I keep everything in the tent. That's my little chair. You know what I mean? I always got to keep eating. I took this banana from the dinner last night. The people were really nice there. Worcester is a really interesting area. I said in my writing, it has a menacing feel. Definitely addiction plays a huge role in poverty here. So I just kind of keep to myself. I want to talk to people soon and see if I can get some interviews and some recording. So this is my little chair that I just recently brought out when I went through my gear. Went home for a few days. I found an old campsite that had some padding. So I just set my tent up on top of it because it's soft and I maybe sleep better. I rode the bike on so many hills. My legs were sore. My legs will hurt in the night when I'm sleeping. But I did sleep all right. Let me just check this camera real quick. Make sure I'm rolling. Yeah. So a coyote came through here last night. I heard it running around. You might ask, how do I know it was a coyote? Well, I know what a dog sounds like when it's running around. it woke me up. I grabbed I have my weapons handy just in case. I guess that would be the biggest fear, is like a pack of coyotes or something tries to attack my tent, get at me. I doubt it would ever happen. Like the chances of that are slim. But it's interesting to me to see how much like human emotion plays in survival. Because the mere thought of something intruding on my camp, even while I'm sleeping, wakes me up, elicits fear. My body jumps into action, and I'm grateful for it. I'm not, anxiety, fear, depression, the child of those are just natural human responses to things in nature, so that our ancestors could survive and understand the right and wrong things to do in any situation. I brought a little bit of extra gear out with me. I have this. This is a tarp. It's light. It's in case it rains and things. Oh, sweet. It is a little chillier this morning. Squeeze all the air out of this thing. One thing I didn't really like about Worcester is it's not really bike friendly. There's not a lot of bike paths on the roads or whatever, like in Boston. You gotta ride on the sidewalk. I didn't see a lot of bikes in Worcester. And it's like a big area. It's like sprawled out over a pretty large area, and there's tons of hills and shit. Sucks. Not too happy about. That's the worst thing about riding around all the time on the bike. Is it one thing that I've really noticed has affected me is it hurts my knees. One guy had claimed that, like with my pack and me being as heavy as I am right now, I weigh about total, about with the pack, myself, 290 pounds. So I'm riding around on that fucking bike at about almost 300, which is a lot. And really, one guy said that it's going to hurt my back. I haven't had any back issues. The only thing I've noticed is my knees hurt a little bit here and there. I dropped the bulk of my gear off at the gyms, like I said. So great. So I just carry the little bag that detaches from the bigger one. I'll show you that in a minute. Because there's still air in this, it's really tight going into this bag. It's my fault. Didn't get all the air out, but I'll just get it in there the best I can. Alright, good enough. I gotta keep checking to see. I have a live I'm gonna do. I got a half an hour. Alright, should be enough time. Put this down. This Sub-Zero sleeping bag's been keeping me warm. The tent stays warm. It's just barely enough for me and my pack to be inside there, so it's just small space. It does have ventilation a little bit, but it keeps the warmth in there, which is nice. I'd probably say inside that tent, probably about 10 to 15 degrees warmer than it is outside. So whereas last night it was probably like 40 degrees in the tent, it was probably about 55, maybe even a little bit warmer. So the interesting thing about being an urban survivalist is you have access to all the different resources of society, but yet you still live off the land. And I never really thought of these things before because I wasn't living it. But I can understand where some people enjoy this type of life. There's not as much stress involved. Not as much responsibility. Things are provided for you. And there's other people too, so you have company. Like, I don't understand whose idea it was to take the American dream and turn it into the American ideal. Because not everybody's equipped for that. Like, these are some of my thoughts. So, the system is structured in a way where, on some level, it's punitive to those who aren't interested in following social norms, I guess, like getting a job, spending all your money on a place, getting a vehicle, living responsibly. Some people, it's just not realistic for them. And I think the saddest thing that I've seen is, whereas nowadays people struggle with mental illness and they don't have the capacity to live like that, a lot of these people are just kind of thrown out into the streets, figure out how to survive. They get whatever social services, but if they're not able to manage the services provided, then they end up in the street where they're left destitute. And I've seen this. I've fucking seen it. I've seen it. And it depresses me. And it's just not all right. It's not all right. And I think that it could be remedied by having more accessible, immediate material services like shelter. Shelter that isn't really discriminatory, like, just open places where people could come and go. Obviously, it's got to be monitored somehow. Have it be mainly for sleeping. Maybe have like some day center services. And then more centralized food services, things like that. That's what I liked about Framingham, is everything was centralized. You go to one place to eat. You got a couple places for shelter. You have one big place that provides the social services, which was Smock. They did a really good job with that. Like here, there's a couple places. There's one place that serves, there's a few places that serve lunch, and then a place that serves dinner. So the services here are a little bit more centralized than Boston, but they're still kind of scattered. You have to learn an area. You have to learn where you can go for your meals. There's usually not as many meals on the weekends as there are on the weekdays. But people in the situation of being unhoused or being impoverished, they form connections with each other. They form communities. So when people got to travel around to different places and figure different things out, it becomes more complicated. So just from experiencing this, and for like simplicity for myself in a given area, I think centralizing services or having stronger resource guides for people, which I do plan on making one for each place. I'm working on it. I fill out a spreadsheet that people have access to so they know where to go and when to go, because I haven't seen one of those here yet. do a terrible job of folding this thing. So there's really like no way to do it. Stuff it in there. It was nice when I had my Auntie Chris to help me with this. Double check and make sure I put the holes in here. If I lose those, I'm done. I gotta get a new tent. I like this little tent. Oh, my microphone. So hopefully this is enough gear to get me through the winter. And there you go. You can see there's the pads over there that I use, making my night a little bit more comfortable. It's getting warmer now. You know, and just always having my gear. Always have food. Sugar. As it gets colder out, because the body works like a furnace. So if you're not feeding it, it cools down. If it's too cold outside, you'll freeze to death. And we'll see how that goes for me. It's actually getting a little warmer now. So all in all, this journey has been enjoyable. I enjoy the lifestyle. I think there's something to be said of it. I double up jackets, by the way, when I'm cold. Oh, yeah. Might have to bring in some new gear if it gets too cold out and I'm still bucking on staying in the shelters. I will stay in warming centers. I like the come and go philosophy. I don't like having to get shook down every time I go into a place. I have to stash my little weapons that I carry. I don't, like I said, I don't carry anything illegal or, you know, that get me in trouble, but I don't want it getting taken from me, because if something were to happen in the streets, I'm left to fight animals or people off with my bare hands, and that might not go over well for me. I'm not fucking Chuck Norris. So, you know, just figuring this shit out as I go, but I've learned so much already. And I think one of the most important things is just keep your gear with you at all times. People, you know, stash stuff and hide shit here and there. You can do that. you might be smart enough. People might, find good hiding spots. That's possible. One bag, keep shit with you at all times. If you're going to stash something, lock it up. Active and Fit has been one of my mainstays for survival. Multiple memberships. They bulk up all the gym memberships. So it's like LA Fitness, Planet Fitness, Anytime Fitness, Crunch Fitness. There's always a gym I can go to and lock my shit up. I pay for the membership. Nobody's ever said anything to me. When I come walking through with a giant rucksack, they probably think I'm some crazy ass military dude or some shit. But, having that resource has been a lifesaver. And that becomes the area like I'll congregate, because I have to use that spot to just lock my stuff up in the beginning of the day. Or I can sit there and charge my phones. And then from there, I spread out and gain access to other resources, libraries, soup kitchens, day centers, recovery centers, places for me to hang out and do whatever the fuck I want. So yeah, here we are, living homeless. I'm gonna eat my banana, and I'm gonna do a live soon. So just you can stand by for that.